Richard Kane stood on the bridge of the starship UES Meridian and watched the alien world grow larger on the screen. The planet looked beautiful from space with swirling purple clouds and 3 bright moons. This was Zentara Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Confederation. Kane had spent 5 years preparing for this moment. "We're getting a signal from the planet, Ambassador," said Captain Lisa Morgan. She was a tall woman with short black hair and steady blue eyes. Kane trusted her completely. She had been his choice to command this mission. "Put it on screen," Kane replied. He straightened his dark blue diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. The screen flickered and showed an alien face. It looked like a giant insect with 4 eyes and sharp mandibles. This was Chancellor Zethmore, the leader of the Vrakai species and head of the Confederation Council. "Human vessel," the alien said in perfect English. "You may approach the station. Follow the guide ships exactly. Any deviation will be seen as an act of war." Kane nodded politely. "Thank you, Chancellor. We look forward to our meeting." The transmission ended. Captain Morgan looked at Kane with concern. "They're not very friendly, are they?" Kane smiled grimly. "I didn't expect them to be. We're the new kids on the block, Lisa. They've been ruling this part of the galaxy for 2,000 years. To them, we're just primitives who got lucky with faster-than-light travel." The UES Meridian followed the alien guide ships toward a massive space station. Kane had seen pictures of it, but seeing it in person was different. The station was enormous, easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest city. It sparkled with lights from dozens of different alien species. "Remember," Kane told his small diplomatic team, "we're here to make friends, not enemies. Earth needs allies out here. The galaxy is a dangerous place." Dr. Susan Clark, his science advisor, nodded nervously. She was young, maybe 30, with brown hair tied back in a ponytail. The briefing said there are 12 different species in the Confederation. "Do you really think they'll accept us?" Kane looked out at the alien station. "That's what we're here to find out." 2 hours later, Kane and his team walked through the station's corridors. The aliens had provided them with breathing masks, but Kane could still smell the strange, sharp odor of the alien atmosphere. Everything was too big, built for species much larger than humans. They passed groups of different aliens. Some looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Others were made of living crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows on the walls. One group looked like floating jellyfish with tentacles that sparked with electricity. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Kane heard whispers in languages he didn't understand, but the tone was clear. Curiosity mixed with contempt. "They think we're weak," whispered Lieutenant Commander Roy Thompson, Kane's military advisor. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles. "Let them," Kane replied quietly. "Underestimation can be useful." The meeting room was vast, with a ceiling that disappeared into shadows above. 12 different species sat around a circular table, each group different from the others. Kane and his team took their seats at the only small table in the room, clearly built for humans. Chancellor Zethmore clicked his mandibles together. "So humans, you request membership in the Galactic Confederation. Tell us why we should care about your little world." Kane stood up slowly. He had practiced this speech 1,000 times. "Honored representatives, Earth comes to you in friendship. We offer trade, knowledge, and cooperation. Humanity has much to contribute to galactic civilization." A sound like glass breaking filled the room. Kane realized it was laughter from the Telnari, the crystal beings. Their leader, a creature that looked like a walking diamond, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "Contribute? You learned to travel between stars only 50 years ago. We have been doing this for millennia. What could you possibly offer us?" Kane reached into his bag and pulled out a small device. He set it on the table and pressed a button. Music filled the room, a beautiful piece by Mozart that seemed to dance in the air around them. The alien laughter stopped. "This is human art," Kane said calmly. "We also brought examples of our literature, our scientific discoveries, and our philosophy. Humanity may be young among the stars, but we have spent thousands of years developing our culture." A new voice spoke. It belonged to one of the lizard-like beings called the Soros. "Culture is meaningless without power. What armies do you command, human? What worlds have you conquered?" Kane met the alien's yellow eyes. "Earth believes that true strength comes from cooperation, not conquest. We seek to build, not destroy." More laughter from several species. Chancellor Zethmore raised one of his 4 arms for silence. "How refreshingly naive," the Chancellor said. The galaxy is not a place for builders, human. It belongs to those strong enough to take it and hold it. Your cooperation will not save you when the Devourers come from the dark between stars. Kane had heard rumors of the Devourers, ancient machines that consumed entire worlds. But those were just stories, weren't they? Even so, Kane said, Earth offers friendship to all peaceful species. The meeting continued for hours. Kane presented gifts from Earth. Books, music, art, and examples of human technology. Some aliens seemed interested, but most appeared bored or amused. As the day ended, Chancellor Zethmore stood up. We will consider your request, humans. You may rest in the quarters we have prepared. We will have our answer tomorrow. Kane and his team were led to a section of the station designed for smaller species. The rooms were simple but clean. Kane stood at the window looking out at the stars and thinking about Earth, 300 light-years away. Captain Morgan found him there an hour later. How do you think it went? Kane sighed. Not well. They see us as children playing with adult toys. Zethmore is smart, though. I can see him thinking, trying to figure out what we're really capable of. And what are we capable of, Richard? Kane was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, More than they know, Lisa. Much more than they know. That night, Kane sent his daily report back to Earth using quantum communication. He told Admiral Patricia Hayes and Defense Secretary John Phillips about the meeting. He described the alien attitudes and their obvious contempt for humanity. He ended his report with a warning. These beings respect only strength. If diplomacy fails, we may need to show them what humanity is truly capable of. Kane didn't know it, but those would be some of the last words he would ever send to Earth. Kane woke up early on the 4th day. He had not slept well. Something felt wrong about this place, but he could not put his finger on what it was. The alien station was too quiet, and the few aliens he saw in the corridors moved with purpose that made him nervous. Dr. Susan Clark knocked on his door at 7 in the morning, Earth time. Her face was pale and her hands shook slightly. Ambassador, I've been monitoring their communications, she whispered. I don't understand their languages, but the tone has changed. They're not just talking about us anymore. They're talking about Earth. Kane felt a cold weight in his stomach. What kind of talk? Military frequencies. Ship movements. They're sending scouts toward our space. Before Kane could respond, the door chimed. 2 tall Vrak-high soldiers stood in the hallway. Their insect-like faces impossible to read. Chancellor Zethmore requests your immediate presence, one of them said in mechanical English. Kane looked at his team. Captain Morgan stepped forward, her hand near her sidearm, but Kane shook his head. We're diplomats, he said quietly. We go where they ask us to go. The meeting room looked different today. More aliens were present, and all of them were staring at the humans. Kane noticed that his team's chairs had been moved farther from the main table, as if they were no longer welcome in the circle. Chancellor Zethmore stood up, his forearms spread wide. Humans of Earth, the Confederation has reached its decision. Kane remained standing. Something in the Chancellor's voice made him want to be ready to move quickly. We have studied your species carefully. Zethmore continued. Your technology is primitive. Your military is weak. Your worlds are few. However, your species shows potential for useful labor. Kane felt his heart rate increase. What are you saying? The Confederation offers Earth a great honor. You will become our newest protectorate species. You will provide 70% of your resources and population to serve the Confederation. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy and share some of our technology with you. The room was completely silent. Kane could hear his own breathing in his helmet. And if we refuse? Kane asked, though he already knew the answer. Chancellor Zethmore's mandibles clicked together in what might have been a smile. Species that refuse the Confederation's generosity are considered hostile to galactic peace. Such species must be dealt with appropriately. Kane looked around the room at the dozens of alien faces watching him. Some looked amused. Others looked hungry. All of them looked certain that humanity would accept the deal. I need to communicate with my government, Kane said. No, Zethmore said simply. You are Earth's representative. You will give us your answer now. Kane straightened his shoulders and looked directly into the Chancellor's 4 black eyes. Then my answer is no. Earth will never be anyone's slave. The room erupted in sounds that Kane supposed were alien laughter. Chancellor Zethmore raised his arms for silence. How predictably stupid, the Chancellor said. Very well. The Confederation hereby declares humanity a hostile species. As a demonstration of what awaits your pathetic world, you will be executed. Lieutenant Commander Thompson stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. You can't do this. He's a diplomat under protection of galactic law. The Telnari leader's crystal body flashed with light. Galactic law protects the citizens of galactic civilization. Primitives who refuse to join civilization have no such protection. Kane put his hand on Thompson's arm. Stand down, Roy, that's an order. But sir, stand down. Kane turned back to Chancellor Zethmore. I'm ready. The Chancellor seemed surprised by Kane's calm. You do not beg? You do not offer us bribes or concessions? Kane smiled grimly. Would it change anything? No. Then why waste both our time? Zethmore studied Kane for a long moment. You are either very brave or very stupid, human. Maybe both, Kane replied. But before you kill me, let me give you some free advice. The Chancellor tilted his insect head. Speak. Kane looked around the room one more time, memorizing the faces of Earth's enemies. You think you know what humanity is capable of. You think we're weak because we came here asking for friendship instead of demanding submission. You're wrong. Kane's voice grew stronger. Humanity has fought wars for thousands of years. We've built weapons that can destroy entire continents. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters that would have ended weaker species. We came here in peace because we chose to, not because we had to. The room was quiet now. Kane could see uncertainty in some of the alien faces. You're about to make the biggest mistake in your species' history. Kane continued. You're going to kill Earth's ambassador and declare war on a species you don't understand. When the people of Earth learn what you've done, they will come for you, and they won't come asking for friendship. Chancellor Zethmore clicked his mandibles. Empty threats from a dead man. Guard, carry out the execution. Make sure it is broadcast to his ship and to Earth. A Vrakai soldier stepped forward with a weapon that hummed with energy. Kane closed his eyes and thought of Earth. Blue skies, green forests, and 7 billion humans who would soon know that their ambassador had died trying to make peace. The weapon fired. Captain Morgan watched from the bridge of the UES Meridian as the transmission ended. Her face was white with rage and her hands were shaking. The communication officer, a young man named Pete Davis, was staring at the blank screen in shock. Did that really just happen? Davis whispered. Before Morgan could answer, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. The tactical officer, Commander Helen Brooks, looked up from her station. Captain, we have multiple alien ships surrounding us. They're demanding our surrender. Morgan looked out at the stars and thought about Richard Kane, who had been her friend for 10 years. She thought about Earth and the message she had to deliver. Negative, she said quietly. Activate the quantum drive. Get us out of here. But Captain, they'll fire on us. Morgan's voice was hard as steel. Let them try. We have news to deliver. The UES Meridian vanished in a flash of blue light, leaving the confused aliens behind. The ship raced toward Earth at speeds that bent space itself, carrying the news that would change everything. On Earth, President Elizabeth Grant received the message 18 hours later. She watched Kane's execution 3 times, then called an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. Ladies and gentlemen, she said to the assembled leaders, humanity is at war. The emergency meeting took place in the deepest bunker beneath Geneva. President Elizabeth Grant sat at the head of a table surrounded by the most powerful people on Earth. Admiral Patricia Hayes, Defense Secretary John Phillips, and General Nathan Price were there. So was Dr. Marcus Chen, the director of the secret Prometheus Research Facility. Show them the recording again, President Grant said quietly. The room watched in silence as Richard Kane was murdered by the aliens. When it ended, Grant stood up. Richard Kane was my friend, she said. He was also Earth's first ambassador to the stars. These aliens killed him for refusing to make humanity their slaves. Admiral Hayes leaned forward. Madam President, our military analysis shows that the Confederation has thousands of ships and controls hundreds of worlds. A direct fight would be suicide. Would it? Grant turned to Dr. Chen. Marcus, tell them about Ragnarok. Dr. Chen was a small, quiet man with thick glasses. He looked nervous as he activated a holographic display in the center of the table. For the past 15 years, while we've been exploring space, we've also been preparing for war, he said. Project Ragnarok has developed weapons based on principles that other species haven't discovered. The hologram showed technical diagrams that made no sense to most people in the room. Chen continued speaking. While aliens focus on energy weapons and force fields, we've been weaponizing the fundamental forces of the universe. Gravity, time, space itself. General Price frowned. That sounds like science fiction, Doctor. Chen smiled for the first time. So did faster-than-light travel until we built it. Sir, humanity's greatest advantage has always been our ability to think differently. We don't just use technology, we break the rules that govern technology. President Grant nodded. Show them the fleet, Nathan. General Price stood up and activated another hologram. This one showed the space around Jupiter's moons. What looked like empty space was actually filled with hundreds of human warships, all invisible to alien sensors. We've been building this fleet in secret for 10 years, Price said. Every ship is equipped with experimental weapons that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. The aliens think we have one exploration vessel. Actually, we have the most advanced military force in known space. Defense Secretary Phillips looked stunned. How did you keep this secret? The same way we kept the atomic bomb secret during World War II, Grant replied. Sometimes the best defense is making sure your enemies don't know what you're capable of. Admiral Hayes studied the hologram. Even if our weapons are superior, they still outnumber us by thousands to one. Dr. Chen adjusted his glasses. Numbers don't matter when you can destroy entire star systems with a single weapon. We've learned how to create artificial black holes, how to make stars explode on command, and how to fold space to move fleets instantly across the galaxy. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, President Grant spoke again. The aliens want to see what humanity is capable of when we're angry. I think it's time we showed them. She turned to General Price. Nathan, you have full authorization to deploy the fleet. Your mission is simple. Destroy the Galactic Confederation completely. Price nodded grimly. Rules of engagement? There are no rules, Grant replied. They murdered our ambassador and declared war on our species. I want every alien world that supported Kane's execution to be wiped from existence. Dr. Chen looked uncomfortable. Madam President, some of those worlds have billions of civilians. Grant's eyes were cold as ice. They should have thought of that before they killed our diplomat. This is not a war for territory or resources. This is extermination. 3 days later, Lieutenant Commander Amy Foster stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching the hidden fleet prepare for departure. She was young for her rank, only 28, but she had trained her entire adult life for this moment. All ships reporting ready, said her communications officer. Ensign Kevin Moore Foster looked at the tactical display showing 300 human warships. Each one was equipped with weapons that could crack planets or collapse stars. Earth had spent 15 years and trillions of dollars building the most destructive force in galactic history. Fleet Command, this is Vengeance. We are ready to depart. Admiral Hayes's voice came over the comm from the flagship UES Dominion. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Our orders are simple. Find every world that belongs to the Galactic Confederation and destroy it. We will not stop until every alien who supported Richard Kane's murder is dead. Foster felt a chill run down her spine. Earth was about to commit genocide on a galactic scale. Remember, Admiral Hayes continued, we're not fighting for conquest. We're not fighting for resources. We're fighting to send a message to the entire galaxy. Nobody kills a human and lives. The fleet activated their quantum drive simultaneously. 300 ships vanished from Jupiter space and reappeared on the edge of Confederation territory. Dr. Helen Brooks, the fleet's chief science officer, monitored the jump from the science vessel UES Newton. The readings on her instruments showed perfect precision. Every ship had arrived exactly where it was supposed to be. Fleet deployment successful, she reported. All gravitational weapons are online and ready. The first target was a rock-high colony world called Kepler 438b. It had 2 billion aliens living on it, most of them civilians. Under normal circumstances, attacking such a world would be considered a war crime. But these were not normal circumstances. Captain Steve Miller commanded the destroyer UES Retribution. He looked at the peaceful alien world on his main screen and thought about Richard Kane, dying in front of the Confederation Council. Science officer, prepare the gravity lance, he ordered. Sir, his weapons officer said nervously. There are billions of people down there. Miller turned to face his crew. They weren't people who mattered when their government murdered our ambassador. Fire the weapon. The gravity lance was invisible, but its effects were not. The alien world began to stretch and deform as artificial gravitational forces tore it apart. Within minutes, a planet that had existed for billions of years was reduced to floating debris. 2 billion aliens died in less than 5 minutes. Target destroyed, Miller reported calmly. Moving to the next system. Across Confederation space, the pattern repeated. Human ships appeared without warning and destroyed entire worlds with weapons that made no sense to alien scientists. Planets were crushed by artificial black holes. Stars were forced to explode early, sterilizing everything in their systems. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless against ships that could manipulate space and time. A Confederation fleet of 50 vessels attacked the UES Dominion and watched in horror as their enemy simply made them disappear by folding space around them. Within 1 week, 4 entire alien species had been completely wiped out. Their worlds were gone, their fleets were destroyed, and their civilizations had been erased from history. Chancellor Zethmore, hiding in a bunker on Zentara Prime, sent desperate messages throughout the galaxy calling for help. But most species who received those messages chose to run rather than fight the humans. Earth's reply to Kane's murder was tearing the galaxy apart. Chancellor Zethmore stood in his war room deep beneath Zentara Prime and watched his empire die. The holographic display showed red markers where entire star systems had once existed. In 2 weeks, the humans had destroyed 43 worlds and killed over 100 billion aliens. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked his military advisor, General Krickstahl. The tall Vrakai soldier clicked his mandibles nervously. "Perhaps 3,000, Chancellor, but they're scattered across the galaxy and many refuse to engage the humans directly." Zethmore turned away from the display in disgust. "Cowards. We ruled this galaxy for 2 millennia, and now we run from primitives who learned to travel between stars 50 years ago." "With respect, Chancellor," said Admiral Veltara of the Saros fleet, "these humans are not primitive. Their weapons violate the laws of physics as we understand them." On the display, another red marker appeared as the human fleet destroyed a Tel Nari mining world. The crystalline beings who had laughed at human culture were now extinct, their last world shattered by artificial gravitational forces. The humans had developed a pattern that terrified the surviving aliens. They would appear without warning in a star system, destroy everything that lived there, and then vanish before any defense could be mounted. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't negotiate. They simply killed. Captain Steve Miller of the UES Retribution watched another alien world die through his ship's sensors. This one was a Hidari colony with 50 million inhabitants. The Hidari looked like giant spiders and had been one of the most vocal supporters of Kane's execution. "Gravity bombs deployed," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Collins. "Planetary core destabilizing." The world cracked open like an egg, spilling molten rock into space. Miller felt nothing as he watched 50 million aliens die. They had cheered when Richard Kane was murdered. Now they were paying the price. "Any other targets in this system?" he asked. "Negative, sir. All alien installations destroyed." Then we moved to the next system. Long-range sensors show a Hidari fleet gathering near their homeworld. Miller smiled grimly. The aliens still didn't understand what they were facing. They thought this was a normal war where fleets fought fleets and the strongest side won. They were wrong. This was extermination. Dr. Helen Brooks monitored the human fleet's advance from her science ship. The quantum communicators allowed instant communication across the entire galaxy, so she could coordinate the systematic destruction of alien civilization. "Admiral Hayes," she reported, "the Saros have abandoned their outer colonies and are falling back to their home system. Intelligence suggests they're planning a last stand." Admiral Hayes's voice came back immediately. "Good. It'll be easier to kill them all in one place. Dr. Brooks, prepare the Stellar Cascade weapon." Brooks felt a chill. The Stellar Cascade was humanity's most terrible weapon. It could cause chain reactions that would destroy multiple star systems at once. "Admiral, if we use that weapon, it might spread beyond their home system. We could accidentally destroy neutral worlds." "There are no neutral worlds," Hayes replied coldly. "Every species in the Confederation voted to kill Ambassador Kane. Every species is guilty." Meanwhile, on a human troop transport called the UES Normandy, Colonel Rachel Stevens prepared her ground forces for planetary assault. The humans had discovered that some aliens were hiding in deep underground bunkers, hoping to survive the orbital bombardment. Stevens had developed tactics specifically for hunting down these survivors. Listen up. she told her battalion of Marines. "The aliens think they can hide from us underground. They're wrong. We're going to find every last one of them and finish the job." Sergeant Mike Torres raised his hand. "Ma'am, some of these bunkers contain alien children. Do we have orders regarding non-combatants?" Stevens looked at him with cold eyes. "Sergeant, every alien child will grow up to be an alien adult who might threaten human lives. We're not here to sort out the innocent from the guilty. We're here to make sure this species never threatens humanity again." The human ground forces had weapons that could melt through solid rock and sensors that could detect life signs miles underground. When they found alien bunkers, they used psychological warfare tactics that broke alien morale completely. They would broadcast the sounds of their friends and family dying. They would flood the bunkers with hallucinogenic gases that made the aliens see nightmares. They would simply wait outside the entrances until starvation forced the aliens to surrender. Then they would kill them anyway. The Saros home fleet was the largest concentration of alien military power left in the galaxy. 500 ships gathered around their home world, preparing for what they knew would be their final battle. Admiral Sektar, the greatest military mind the Saros had ever produced, stood on his flagship's bridge and tried to devise a strategy to fight an enemy that could manipulate the laws of physics. "Deploy the ships in a sphere formation," he ordered. "If the humans can fold space, we need to be ready for them to appear from any direction." His tactical officer, Colonel Morden, looked at the formation with doubt. "Admiral, our intelligence suggests the humans can simply make our ships disappear. Formation may not matter." Sektar slammed his clawed hand on the tactical display. "Then what do you suggest, Colonel? That we surrender? That we beg these mammals for mercy?" Before Morden could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. On the tactical display, 300 human vessels appeared simultaneously around the Saros homeworld. "Impossible," whispered Sektar. "They jumped directly into the gravity well. That should have destroyed their ships." The human flagship U.S. Dominion broadcast a message on all frequencies. Admiral Hayes' voice filled the silence. "Saros fleet, this is Admiral Patricia Hayes of Earth. You voted to murder our ambassador. You declared war on humanity. Now you face the consequences." Sektar activated his comm system. "Human Admiral, we surrender unconditionally. Spare our civilians and we will submit to any terms you demand." The reply came back immediately. "Surrender is not an option. You should have thought about mercy before you killed Richard Kane." Dr. Brooks activated the stellar cascade weapon from her science ship. The Saros star began to pulse with unnatural energy as human technology forced it toward supernova. "All human ships, withdraw to minimum safe distance," Hayes ordered. The human fleet vanished just as the star exploded. The blast destroyed not only the Saros homeworld but 3 neighboring systems as well. Entire civilizations that had existed for thousands of years were wiped out in minutes. Across the galaxy, the few surviving alien species received the same message. Any world that had supported the Confederation would be destroyed. Any species that had voted for Kane's execution would be exterminated. Some tried to flee to other galaxies. Others hid in the dark spaces between stars. A few sent desperate surrender messages to Earth, offering anything in exchange for mercy. The human response was always the same. There would be no mercy. There would be no forgiveness. There would only be extinction. Chancellor Zethmore, now one of the last Vrakhai alive, broadcast a final message across the galaxy from his hidden bunker. To any species receiving this transmission, he said, "Beware the humans of Earth. We thought they were weak. We thought they were primitive. We were wrong. They are the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever known. They do not fight for conquest or resources. They fight for complete annihilation." Transmission ended abruptly as human forces found his bunker and destroyed it with a gravity bomb that left nothing but empty space where Zentara Prime used to exist. The Galactic Confederation, which had ruled this region of space for 2,000 years, was gone. In its place was only silence and the growing fear of humanity's terrible power. President Elizabeth Grant stood in the observation deck of the UES Dominion and looked out at the ruins of Zentara Prime. Where the alien capital world had once orbited, there was now only empty space and floating debris. The humans had used their most powerful gravity weapon to simply erase the planet from existence. "How many?" she asked Admiral Hayes, who stood beside her. 12 species completely extinct," Hayes replied. "The Confederation is gone. Their military is destroyed. Their worlds are ash." Grant nodded slowly. And the survivors? Hiding, running. Some have fled to other galaxies. Others are sending surrender messages every hour. Captain Roy Thompson entered the observation deck carrying a data pad. His face was grim as he approached the president. "Ma'am, we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Species that were never part of the Confederation are abandoning their territories and fleeing deeper into space." Grant took the data pad and read the reports. Entire civilizations were packing up their populations and running away, rather than risk drawing humanity's attention. Trade routes that had existed for millennia were abandoned. The galactic economy was collapsing. "They're afraid of us," Grant said. "Yes, ma'am," Thompson replied. "Word of what we did to the Confederation has spread everywhere. Some species are calling us the Great Destroyers. Others call us the Deathbringers." Dr. Marcus Chen, who had arrived on the flagship that morning, looked uncomfortable. "Madam President, perhaps we should consider offering amnesty to species that had nothing to do with Ambassador Kane's death." Grant turned to face him. "Marcus, do you know what the galaxy thought of humanity before this war? That we were primitive? Worse, they thought we were weak. They thought we were prey." Grant looked back out at the empty space where Zentara Prime used to be. Now they know better. On the bridge, Communications Officer Lieutenant Kevin Moore was monitoring broadcasts from across the galaxy. Most of them were desperate pleas for mercy from alien governments. "Admiral Hayes," he called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Altarian Republic. They're offering to surrender their entire fleet and submit to human authority." Hayes didn't look up from her tactical display. "Reply with our standard message." Moore had sent this message so many times he knew it by heart. "Humanity is not interested in conquest or submission. We are only interested in ensuring that no human is ever harmed by alien aggression again. Avoid all human territory and vessels. Any species that threatens a human life will face complete extermination." The message was simple, but it was reshaping galactic civilization. Species that had once traded freely were now afraid to approach human space. Alien fleets that had patrolled there. Territories for centuries now fled whenever human ships appeared on their sensors. General Nathan Price was overseeing the final phase of the campaign from his command ship, the UES Victory. The last remnants of Confederation forces were hiding in a nebula near the galactic rim, hoping the cosmic radiation would hide them from human sensors. "Sir," reported his sensor operator, Ensign Lisa Parker. "We've found them, approximately 50 ships hiding in the Horsehead Nebula." Price studied the tactical display. These were the last organized alien forces left in the galaxy. Once they were destroyed, the war would be officially over. "Are they military vessels or civilian refugees?" "Mixed, sir. Some warships, but mostly transport vessels carrying alien families." Price was quiet for a long moment. These aliens were trying to escape, not fight. They posed no threat to humanity. Under normal circumstances, he might have let them go, but these were not normal circumstances. "Prepare the quantum torpedoes," he ordered. "I want that entire nebula sterilized." "Sir," said his weapons officer nervously, "there might be 1,000,000 aliens in there, mostly civilians." Price looked at the young officer with cold eyes. "And how many humans would be alive right now if we had let the Confederation enslave our species?" "Fire the weapons." The quantum torpedoes tore through space and detonated inside the nebula. The explosions created chain reactions that ignited the cosmic gases, turning the entire region into a burning hell that incinerated every alien ship hiding within it. The last organized resistance to humanity was gone. Dr. Helen Brooks was compiling the final casualty reports when she received an unexpected transmission. It was from a species called the Centaurians who lived far beyond Confederation space. "Humans of Earth," the message began. "We are the Centaurian Alliance. We had no part in your ambassador's death. We offer you our friendship and request permission to establish diplomatic relations." Brooks forwarded the message to President Grant, along with her analysis. The Centaurians were an ancient species known for their wisdom and neutrality. They had never been part of the Confederation and had no connection to Kane's murder. Grant read the message in her private quarters aboard the Dominion. Outside her window, she could see human patrol ships moving through what used to be Confederation space, ensuring that no alien vessels entered the region. She activated her comm system and sent a reply to the Centaurians. "The Centaurian Alliance is welcome to establish peaceful relations with Earth. However, Understand that humanity's policy regarding alien aggression has not changed. Any species that harms a human will be completely destroyed. The reply came back within hours. We understand and accept these terms. The Centaurian Alliance wishes only peace with the great human empire. Empire? Grant smiled grimly at the word. Humanity had never wanted an empire. They had wanted friendship and cooperation. The galaxy had chosen to give them fear and submission instead. 6 months after Richard Kane's execution, the transformation was complete. What had once been a galaxy full of competing civilizations was now divided into 2 regions: human space and everywhere else. Human ships patrolled the borders of their territory, but they did not expand beyond it. Earth had no interest in ruling alien worlds. They simply wanted to be left alone. The few alien species that remained active in galactic affairs had learned to give human vessels a wide berth. When human explorers or traders appeared in their space, alien fleets would retreat to avoid any possibility of conflict. On Earth, Richard Kane was remembered as a hero and martyr. Statues were built in his honor. Schools were named after him. His final words to Chancellor Zethmore were taught to every human child. Earth remembers its children. The galaxy had learned what those words meant. When someone killed a human, humanity responded with systematic annihilation, not conquest, not occupation, but complete extermination of everyone responsible. Admiral Hayes stood on the observation deck of a space station orbiting Earth and watched the constant stream of human ships heading out into the galaxy. These were not warships but exploration vessels, trading ships and colony transports. Humanity was expanding into the empty space left by the extinct alien species. They were building new worlds and establishing trade routes with the few alien civilizations brave enough to approach them. "Admiral," said Captain Lisa Morgan, who had returned from diplomatic missions to 3 different alien governments. "The Regellian Collective wants to establish a trade agreement. They're offering rare minerals in exchange for human technology." Hayes nodded. "What are the terms?" "Complete non-aggression pact. They acknowledge human military superiority and promise never to threaten human lives or territory." "Acceptable. Approve the agreement." Morgan hesitated. "Admiral, they also asked me to pass along a message. They want to know if humanity will protect them if other species threaten their territory." Hayes considered this. The galaxy had changed in fundamental ways. The old balance of power was gone, replaced by a simple reality. Humanity was the apex predator, and everyone else was prey. "Tell them that humanity protects its friends," Hayes said finally. "But make sure they understand the cost of our friendship. Any species under human protection must never, ever harm a human being." The message spread across the galaxy faster than light. Humanity was not just the most powerful species in known space. They were also the most dangerous ally and the most terrifying enemy species that befriended humans found themselves protected by weapons that could destroy star systems. Species that threatened humans found themselves facing complete extinction. The galaxy had a new order now, built on a simple principle that Richard Kane had died trying to establish. Respect for human life was not optional. It was the law of the universe, enforced by the most ruthless civilization the galaxy had ever known. And in the empty space where the Galactic Confederation used to exist, human colonies grew and prospered, protected by the knowledge that their species would never again bow to alien demands. Earth had won more than a war. They had won the galaxy's eternal fear and respect. Richard Kane's death had been avenged in the most complete way possible, by making sure that no alien would ever again dare to harm a human being.